Well, good evening. No idea if there's anybody out there at the moment, because it has been a somewhat frantic rush to get streaming this evening, unexpectedly, because Majenko is indisposed and is hoping to stream tomorrow instead of this evening, which means that what I was hoping to do tomorrow I am instead doing now, which is looking at some 1980s, I think, possibly 70s era models from Hornby, from my old railway set, which I was definitely given for Christmas sometime around 1987-8, and it's spent the last probably 25 years in the attic in my parents' garage, until a few weeks ago my brother suggested we got it down and have a look at it over Easter so that my nephews can play with it, to avoid, because they like, well, they're fascinated by my father's N-gauge layout at my parents' place. Yes, thank you, Jeepin. Hello, by the way. I don't know what a horny double O engine is, but we'll yes, anyway. Yes, so my nephews have liked to play around with my father's N-gauge layout, but N-gauge and young fingers do not mix. Oh, hi Majenko, it has indeed started. Sorry, I should have dropped a note in Discord. Hi CV Developer, and hi Hot Rocks. How you do? How is everybody doing this evening? In fact, so yeah, N-gauge, little fingers don't mix, and there was an incident with my father's, was it Mallard? I think it was Mallard model at Christmas. So we have decided we'll try and get something a bit larger scale to play with. So we got it all down from the loft on Sunday, and it was in bad shape. Obviously, so many years of corrosion on the rails, which is bad enough, but some of the two of the engines do run. The little fast one called Smoky Joe runs nicely, and there was a BR Rail Freight diesel which ran quite nicely, but there were three engines that don't run. What are we doing? Hi Cop, how are you doing? Yeah, Stevie, I know the feeling. But anyway, let's get these out of the shoebox in which they have been left temporarily. And the first one is quite obviously not in any fit state to run, because there's the body shell and there's the chassis, complete with a bit that fell off. And it suffers from at least one obvious electrical problem. If I switch to the overhead cam, let's see if it's anywhere near the centre of the frame. It is not. So you see, we've got one wire going to the front lights. Is that focused? Probably isn't. Yes, it's definitely broken. And then the rear light has no wires going to it, and there is one wire running from the pickup at one end to the motor, and who knows? It's probably not beyond salvage, but we'll give it some juice to the various bits and see which ones are alive, and then if they're all alive, we'll try soldering it back together and see what happens. But let me just catch up on chat, since there are more of you around than I expected, which is always pleasing to see. Good to hear, Majenko. We did not have a massive attic, but I did have a train board on the hinge. It folded up over my bed in the house we lived in until the early 90s, and then from there it moved to the garage in the place my parents still live in now. So it was good fun. But you know how it is, you either lose interest or the space needs to be reclaimed. In the case of that layout, it was reclaimed for my brother's machine shop stuff. So I think the lathe went in that corner. Yeah. Okay, well, first problem here obviously is the coupling is bent. This camera isn't going to work very well, but we'll just bend that back and hope for the best. Let's throw some electrons at it and see what happens. We want 12 volts. This bench supply is a little fiddly, but the nice HP one with the 10-turn pots has gone to ground somewhere, so that'll do. Let's see. We won't poke it directly with the bananas because that probably won't go very well. We shall clip on. Let's start with this light here. Where's the camera? There's the camera. And it has a diode in series. Which way around is that? The cathode towards the light, so if we stick the that there and that there, do we get light? We get light. Excellent. Ah, hi Matt, how you doing? Yeah, work is a pest like that, isn't it? And we'll try the light from the other end of the engine and see what we've got. What we have there is a distinct lack of wiring. So we'll have to do something about that. Let's just push that there and see what happens. Yep, excellent. We have 2 working light bulbs, which is always a relief because I don't have a stock of these grain of wheat bulbs at the moment. So if any of them did not work, it would be time to place an order somewhere. Right, so what we want to do? What we want to do is find out what the wiring should look like, because it should not look like this, with random solder joint there and wires floating around all over the place. So what we want to do is hop over to, there is a Hornby collector's site, I think. No, not that one. That's Hornby themselves. Hornby service sheets. I looked all these up last night and I forgot to send the links down to this laptop so I could look at them from here. So we'll have to find them again. That's Hornby Railways Collector's Guide. That's what we're after. Let me make this window smaller and stick it up on OBS. Safari, properties. That one. That one. And there we go. So this is engine number D1738. What Hornby don't do, which is vaguely annoying, is put their catalogue numbers, their R numbers, on the... Well, it won't be on the chassis because that's common between several models. So D1738. I did find this last night. There we go. You see, I am not much of a rail fan. I could not tell you much about these engines. So, related service sheets. There we go. We want that one, which is the front of... As produced from 1976. Is that right? Service sheet 94, yes, because 94A is the updated one for one with a plastic chassis. So this is what we want. Oh, we want to test the motor, don't we? That would be very useful. Let's find out where we want to test the motor from. The screws either side of it. So one wire comes over here. So we can just clip onto that convenient blob of solder in the middle. And the other one we'll just touch there and see what happens. Oh! It runs. So the question is, can we find... I suspect we cannot find an actual circuit through to the wheels. So we've got another wire there which is broken. Tweezers. Where are the tweezers? Here. There we go. So where does that go? That goes to... So we need ourselves the bottom wheels, and that, so that's the same as this one. And looking at the wiring chart that you can't see, sorry. Yeah, looking at the wiring chart, there doesn't appear to be anything supposed to be going to. Let's turn that off, and we'll hook this up again. Back. I wish I knew where my actual banana to crock clip leads had gone. So that goes there, and then that one goes there, and it should, if I turn on. Yeah, you can't see anything anyway. Right, so we want to... The question is, do we want to just take all this wiring out and rewire it as the service sheet indicates? Or try and work out what on earth has happened here to make it different from the Okay, I see. Let's try that approach. There are some ginormous blobs of solder on these leads, so I think first off we might tidy that up. Make me feel better that way. And that one obviously goes this end because the wire is long enough, so this one must go this end. So I'll bring this back up again. Oh, hi Chloe, sorry, did I say hello earlier? I don't know if I spotted you amble in, but hello anyway. Let's bring that up again, and I'll take a look. So this end is this end here, with... I don't know if my cursor shows up, it doesn't, does it? No, I can't easily indicate it. So I've got it on the table in the same orientation as it is on the sheet, which is going to make life a bit easier. That was burning something. Yeah, I suspect it's probably the case that a lot of the old stuff was worked on by people who had not yet figured out the difference between plumbing solder and electronic solder. I know certainly when I was doing this sort of stuff, I don't think I ever worked on any of these. I certainly don't remember doing so. But when I was doing electronics around that time, I was using solder and solder flux paste that my father had, and it was definitely for plumbing rather than electronics. But oh well, let's see if we can get this blob of... Okay. Yeah, that's definitely plumber's flux. I can smell it. It takes me back. Maybe we did work on this at some point. So that's that cleared up anyway, which you didn't see. Cancel. I've got myself in a right tiz there, so we'll do that. Right, so we now have a nice clean anode on that diode. So that's supposed to go to... That is supposed to run to this unshaded wire, which you can't see. God, my pardon. What do we need to do? We need to untangle all this mess. So the anode of the diode goes to this unshaded wire, which should come to the near side of the pickup, and the shaded wire should run to the bulb directly, and we can't run to the bulb directly because there's a sort of pin type thing missing that's supposed to hold the wire in the press fit connector there, so we should have to solder it directly to the bulb lead, and that'll be this one here, I think. Yeah. Well, I need to put that operation on the hotkey, really, don't I? So that's looking a bit grotty, that wire. Let's cut the end off. I think we've got a bit of slack, haven't we? Yeah, we've got enough slack there to cut the end off and re-tin it. Where are my good cutters? Hiding somewhere. Oh well. So we need the solder. And we could probably do with giving it a dollop of flux actually, because it's likely to be ancient wire there, if I can find the flux pen. There we go. You do indeed get to say bogies a lot, which is good fun. Right, well, I don't know how well that soldered or tinned it, but it's better than nothing, certainly. And we want to tack that down, or solder that onto the bulb there, don't we? Which you didn't see, so what I need to do is get hold of a battery eliminator for my mirrorless camera, so that I can use that for actual close-ups rather than this webcam on a small tripod. Then you might be able to see what on earth I'm talking about. Right. I wonder what happens if we apply... Well, nothing will happen if we apply juice to that like that, because there's no circuit through the... So has that made a connection? It has not. Splendid. Anode through to cathode. That's not good. What have I done wrong here? Hmm. Well, I'm not sure I'm managing to solder to the lead coming off the bulb very well there. There we go, got it that time I think. But it's not. I think the wire down to the pickup might be broken. Sex-based terms in my chat, what's all this? Ah, right, okay, good, yes. Yeah, Fluxite, that's the one I was thinking of, Hot Rocks. Yeah, smells lovely. Probably very, very bad for you to smell it though. But something more modern might work. No, surprisingly. What can we do about that then? Yeah, I think you are right there. This is not having any of it, so we'll just check. Yeah, the bulb is... What do I have the current limit set on this thing to? Set to on this thing. 1 second. 2.5 amps! Splendid! That's not what I wanted. Right. Let's try that. That might be a bit more sensible for testing a bulb. Yeah, there we go. Right, so it is rewire time, which means we need to find some wire. Bear with me one moment. I definitely had some around here somewhere. Where might it have gone? Maybe I broke the habit of a lifetime and tidied up. It could be upstairs. Back in a second. Well, I found a spool of wire. It's even a fresh one. So we have black. Any colour we like as long as it's black. There should be a spool of green, red, blue and white around here somewhere, because I was building a wiring harness only a few weeks ago. But oh well. What sort of wire is this? Oh god, it's solid core. Oh well, it'll do. We'll get it running and then see how we get on. I suppose we can bend it to shape in the engine and replace it with something better if we need to. But when I find it. So let's get that wire out. And cut an appropriate length of that one. Have I... You're making me paranoid now. Oh good, I didn't typo the stream title. So let me just have a more expressive bowels, is it, Cobb? That sounds dangerous. What exactly did I do? CP developer, thanks. The animation is a homage stroke rip-off of the old Channel 4 ITV Schools holding screen. Had a bit of fun with Blender doing that. When I realised, yes, that the PSU was such 2.5 amps. Yeah, not clever. Not very clever at all. So we want to pop some flux on. We want to rescue the lid for the flux pad so I can put it back on next time. And then we'll stick some flux on that connection point there. And see if we can get some solder to stick this time. Right, and back in the centre of the frame and see if we can get it to light up now. So we want positive to the anode and negative to the wire we've just soldered. Hooray! We have achieved one solder joint. And we want to achieve a second solder joint ideally. Am I sure I cannot find the red wire before I do this? Yeah. bit of flux on the end of that ancient diode lag. One moment, folks. I mean, we could try and just make the one, but I'm not entirely sure it would work as well as we'd hope. And the wire cutter stroke snipper thing is a Rolson branded thing I picked up in Maplin years ago. The stripper bit works quite nicely, and the cutters worked quite nicely at first, but this is the pair that I discovered. If you use them to cut things like terminal posts, you know, the 0.7mm square terminal posts, whatever they are, it very quickly puts nicks in the blade rather than anything better, so bit of a shame. So there's a better pair that I only use for cutting wires, and Majenko took the piss mercilessly out of that. Let me just have a quick look at the wiring diagram. 1 second, so I remember what I'm doing, and it is resistor diode anode down to the near side of the pickup, and bulb down to the far side. Okie doke. We can do that. So annoying they're the wrong way round, but such is life. I suppose what we ideally want to do is try and clean the wheels a bit, and the pickup brushes on the inside. I don't know whether I have the right stuff on hand to do that, but anyway, I'm just going to disconnect all the wiring from this pickup. Tweezers, where have they gone? There we go. Let's those out and clean out that solder blob as well. That might have been too big a solder blob for the pump to cope with. Okay, good luck, Matt, and I'll catch you around sometime. Homemade computer, yes, the homemade computer is coming soon, I think. Oh, I see. This wasn't. Yeah, none of this was designed to be soldered. They've all got these little push fit sockets that are supposed to have pins through them, and at some point someone has redone most of it with solder blobs. So, oh well. So anyway, we've got one set of lights dealt with, working. Let's have a look at the other set of lights. If we can just clip volts onto the far end of the leads, I think I'll try and leave them, because these do have the original wiring pegs and all the rest of it intact, so if they're working, they're working, and I don't want to disturb them too much. Yeah, they're fine. So that goes up here somewhere. And Well, I don't know if that's the case, Majenko. If it was, I must have been about, I don't know, in single digits age at the time, and I don't recall ever having quite got to the point of trying to fix the inside of one of these things. I remember noticing that some of them were broken, but I think we just presumed that it would be someone who knew what they were doing would need to fix them. Anyway, sorry, just looking at the wiring diagram again. So the long wire on that is coming off the anode and needs to run shaded wire through section A. Section A needs to run to one of the poles of the motor through section B to the same side as the, yeah, that makes sense, as the cathode of the other end, so which is the far side over here. So a bit of flux down there, I think. Let's try and tin that copper plate before we do anything further. Let's see, am I in shot? I'm nowhere near in shot. There I am. Oh, maybe I was. So we'll try and tin that up. No. There we go. Got a blob of solder on that bus bar now, so we should be able to put that one down there and that one. Or maybe not. Okay, there we go. Just catch up on chat there. Yeah, the last thing we want is blown plasma relays on a diesel locomotive. So if we now try putting some juice, excuse me, what I need is to do that. So if we do that, one of them should light. And it does not. Well, would have if this end was connected, wouldn't it? Sorry, consult the wiring diagram again, and the diode at this end hang on. Am I looking at the right end? I'm looking at the wrong end there. Right, at this end we should go through... Yep. And the bulb side of it, which is so cathode to bulb to down through again through section A. Let's bring that up. So we're looking at this unshaded wire on the left here. Comes down here through section A to A and then goes to another pole of the motor up through section B to the near side of the pickup, which will be... Which side of the motor was that supposed to be on? The right hand side as I'm looking at it, which currently has no wires to it at all. This has different wiring. This has wires coming down to the wheels on the front bogie as well. Have I... There we go. I've dropped a Google. I was looking at the wrong model. There we go. This one's the front. So this one reckons they should all be common at the motor end. Oh well. So motor left hand lug is the shaded wire. Should run to the far side of the front pickup. No. Let me just show you what I'm looking at for comparison. I've got the... This is the near side of the front pickup, and the far side is coming through this one here, which is coming to the... Oh yes, there it is. Sorry, I was looking at this lug here. Sorry, it's very dark down there, isn't it? Looking at this lug and wire was bent over. Okay, that's good. All we need to do is figure out... So that needs to go back on there. And we've got a wire up one side of the lights to that as well. Okay, that's within the realms of feasibility. Plenty of flux again. What I need is the flux bottle. Where's the flux bottle? Must be in my desk drawer. Oh well. Nice blob of solder on my map. On my mat there. Okay. Let's get this hooked up at least. And then back to the schematics. So that's the unshaded wire that I've just hooked up on that lug. Oops. Which should run to unshaded wire to the bulb end at the front and the diode end at the back, but the diode end at the back is connected directly to the pickup. So it should run to this. Right. No. off a bit, it's a bit of a mess. Is chat on floor inert now? Okay, fair enough. So what we're missing now is that connection needs to come. That's read from that side, yeah, so it should come back here. Not sure entirely why, but we'll put it in there since it was there in the first place. Okay, never mind. And we need a length from there back to here, don't we? Bear with me. So we need a length from shaded there to that one. Yeah, okay. In fact, what we'll do is we'll take off that one I've put on the diode there. Yeah, we'll just tack that down to the pickup back here, I think is probably the easiest way of dealing with that. Okie doke, and that should be complete. We'll disconnect these two dangling wires. Right, they won't easily come away from there, so we shall just tuck them up inside, that's fine. And what I want to do to actually test this is go and fetch my rolling road from the other room, so, because then it'll put, or will it? Hang on, does that provide current at both ends? I can't remember. Yeah, we need this connected up, don't we? That was to go to there, which is... These wires are a bit too fiddly to see, which is annoying. Oops. Okay, has that? No, that is not going to take that one. I think we'll leave it as is for the time being, and we want to put in ideally a spare connection from there to there, so that the front and back pickup, it doesn't matter which one is actually active at any one time, so we'll just double that up this way. I mean, we can allow him to lay eggs at the moment, Chloe. He is ill after all. I mean, and who are we to judge? And then I think that should just tack on there, and we should be able to run it in both directions from either end, and it will be happy. So I have made that about 2mm too short, because I am a pillock, as we have already established. That's more like it. Tacking 3 wires down to this motor is not proving to be as easy as you might have expected. Which probably explains why there were all those massive gobs of solder on there earlier. Go, and finally that one. Right. Why is that? Come on. That's a horrible joint, that one, but Oh, it was one of the original ones, that wasn't one of mine. Okay, that's why it was so horrible. Right, we'll redo it completely then. Just have to redo that one because I crossed the two wires in flight, unfortunately. And that desoldering pump isn't working. Excellent. Just flick it off like that. Brush solder there. Right. So that should sit on those two posts. It does. That should sit there. Excellent. And now we should, in theory, be able to hook up a supply anywhere we want. So there to there. Okay, it needs more amps now, or more current. Let's just see what it's set to. What am I doing? We'll try 1 amp and see what happens. And if it explodes, I'm sure it'll all be very hilarious and not at all embarrassing. So, right, it runs, and do we have a light anywhere? Well, it runs on a 1/4 amp. Yeah, it does rather look. Yeah, a ladle is probably the tool of choice here. Why did we not get any light? So we should have had negative there, cathode there. Oh, because it still won't be a complete circuit through that end because the pickup is here, isn't it? So if we move that to a wheel and see what happens. These wheels won't move, so we can just clip directly to them. Well, the light comes on, but the motor doesn't run. And if we swap the polarity, what happens? Nothing. Let's apply the juice to the wheels then. Still nothing. So let's have more thinking time required. Right, we should definitely have had light at this end. Unless the pickup isn't actually any good, which is always a possibility. Let's try. Well, let's see which way. Yeah, so node on the near side. No. Let's move that to here. No. Is yes, this is okay, anode on near side. Cathode down there, so why is that not multimeter time? Okay, that's open circuit. And we should be seeing 25 ohms for the bulb. Oh, because I was measuring through the diode, which isn't going to help, is it? Let's try that to that. No, that to that one. Several hundred mega ohms. Well, cheers, Cobb. Good to see you. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit different from the usual fodder this evening, but normal service might be resumed during the week. We shall see. I have parts for the RX-50 refurb at least. What are we doing? So we want that there. Right. Okay, we're not getting anything now, so what has happened here? We'll try that again. Anode. Let's hook it up to the wiring there, and cathode will hook up here. We have light. Will it work if we hook that up through the wheels? Yes, we still have light, except it goes out when I fiddle with it. And if we turn it the other way around, Do we get light at the other end? No. Because we've lost the contact at the motor there. Right, that's why. So that's that pickup and that's rear pickup. So yeah, I can still smell the fluxite, you know. This must have been well, I don't know. It might have been my father, I suppose. Could have been me. I just don't remember ever doing any of this. But yeah, well. Back in those days, the how to get started with electronics books didn't tend to make any distinction between your plumber's stuff and your actual good stuff. At least not that I recall. Which was admittedly down at the Usborne book end of the spectrum, so maybe that was it. Come on, why are you not? Would help if the iron were hot, wouldn't it? Come on. There is a loose connection somewhere, either in the iron or the station, which I haven't tracked down yet. Right, so we should know how to actually tin this tip, which would help. There we go. Now, what happens if we apply power? Still nothing. We swap the polarity, that light should come on, and it doesn't. Okay. Right, we have the lights working now, at least. So there's still a loose connection here, isn't there? But there's the front light in one polarity and the rear light in the other. And now we need to look at why the motor isn't running, and that's probably because I'm driving it from the rear pickups instead of the front. Yes, that's connected to the front. Yeah, the motor is just directly connected across the front pickups, that's why that's not working. And because we can't clip onto those because they're driven. Hmm. I don't know, should I pop this on the rolling road and see what happens, do you think, folks? What's stopping that from sitting down on its posts? There. Yeah, okay. I shall go and grab the rolling road back in a moment. It's a tad dusty because it lives on top of the bookshelf in the front room, so that should fit. Okay, we need to move these slightly, do we? Come on. Oh, this isn't going to work because those aren't. Blimey. Well, before I get worried about that, let me find a couple of wires to plug into the back of this thing. One. So if we hit the power, we get nothing. Hang on, let's. I'm just going to catch up on chat for a second because I realise I have not been paying much attention. Right, yes, okay. What we'll do, we'll pop. Right, that's secure enough there. And we'll grab the meter and we'll see if there's anything actually on the. Let me move this up a bit so you can see what's going on. And we'll see if the volts are making it through to the track, which they should be, because this is. Or I've used this to demonstrate my mallard in the past. No. Huh. Okay, now we've got some current flowing. Right, there's juice on the track, and there is light coming out the front of the engine, which is good. And if we sort the polarity, there should be light coming out the back of the engine. And there is, which is good. We just do not have any motor running. Which is because the front bogie on this rolling road, or the rollers at the front, are not electrically active. So we'll take that red, and we just want to tack that down onto that rear pickup, and then we should be good. I need a knife to clear off some of that corrosion. Let me put that up there for the time being. Yes, I went to see the mallard that's at the National Railway Museum with a friend many years ago, a friend who is sadly no longer with us, and she got me the Hornby OO model of it as a birthday present one year, so it lives in the living room. And a while ago I designed and built as one of my early adult era electronics projects a controller that you could program with the speed curve from its world record run and have the model run through it, but it turns out that that's not the most exciting thing to watch a model do. Come on, what are we doing? Right, there we go. That should be a circuit. Put that there. That there. No, something's still not quite right. Volt 0 amps. Why? Because we were seeing 50 milliamps a few minutes ago. Or was it not on the track? Hey, there we go. So it's running a third of an amp. Running, I think it's running forwards. And if we swap the polarity of the power, we should get the light on at the back. Yeah. Excellent. So one last thing we want to look at with it is just apply a little dot of sewing machine oil. Indeed so, Hot Rocks. It lives. So, sewing machine oil. I cannot find my existing bottle of it, which I will need for the RX-50 refurbishment, so I have grabbed a fresh one this evening from Hobbycraft, who were thankfully open until 8, so when Majenko messaged me at coming up on 7 saying, do you fancy streaming tonight? I could. So what we want to do is bring up the service sheet again. And they have a... Oops, what was the model number? It was R060. So we want the service sheets. Wow, it's struggling a bit for some reason. General spares, locomotive, no. Operation and maintenance, here we go. 1978, I think, is probably the most likely. 50. It is a Ringfield motor, I think, so it should. Oh, R060 Type 5. There we go. So locomotive class 5. Four-wheel bogie. Hang on. Well, it's not listed, so we'll just apply the general principles, which are gear shafts on mechanism, axle bearings, and axle bearings on non-powered bogies. So that makes sense. 5H and J. So there, down there. Well, my town is getting better. For many years we have been in a sort of gulch in the Midlands, where there has been obviously plenty of places here, but also plenty of places that just aren't here for some reason. Huge gap around sort of between Coventry and Oxford, which is used to be a bit of a pain, but it's getting a bit better in some respects and a bit worse in others. So we want, ideally, we want a bottle lid I can dose this out in, and a pin. Bear with me one moment. There we go. We have a beer bottle cap from the study desk. Don't ask why there was one on the study desk. And a pin. That was not what I wanted to unscrew. That was what I wanted to unscrew. Okay, that needs... Hmm. 33 miles on a toll bridge away. Well, that's not ideal, Chloe. But yeah, I'm used to sort of interesting places being sort of 25 miles away at least. So yeah, it's sort of roughly the same general idea, but I'm trying to remember what was in the Hobbycraft before. It's only been there a few years. And I think that might have been Comet, the electrical retailer, and then it stood empty for ages. The other thing I've needed to track down today has been a box of fuses, or well, I suppose more accurately, a fuse for the VT240. Because it turns out the complete lack of power was due to the main fuse having gone pop fairly big time. I think because the fan had stalled out one too many times, and it had the wrong fuse fitted anyway. So we have ordered replacements, because the days when I could just pop into Maplin and get one obviously are long gone. And we need a dollop of glue in there. Not glue, oil in there. Missed it. There we go. Right, so that should now... We'll see whether it sounds... It didn't sound too bad actually just now, so... At least not by the standards of some of the ones I've run. Let's... That was not a good sound. Why was that sound not good? Oh, because it's shorting against the motor body, that's why. Okay. Hmm. I must admit, Chloe, that Hull is on my list of places I do need to visit at some point, but that's mainly for sightseeing. I take it from your tone this is not recommended. Go and try the other way around again. Okay. What I think I want to do is just put a wrap of insulating tape over that exposed solder joint there, because that was arcing against the motor body a moment ago. Be quiet. And then we'll try clipping the top on and see what happens. And then it is coming up on 11, so I should probably call it a night at that point, rather than move on to look at the other three, or the other two engines and one dummy car. Go and I'll do that one there as well for good measure. So let's see, which way around do we reckon this goes? Don't imagine it makes a huge amount of difference unless there's any asymmetry on the inside. I'm imagining BR crest forward. Any suggestion from chat would be most welcome. Well, I always want suggestions from chat, Majenko. Whether I actually pay attention to them is another matter entirely. But Chloe, you make a good point, and Hot Rocks, yes, that's entirely fair. So main engine covers towards the rear. That'd be this here, won't it? I would imagine. Let me just have a quick look at the pretty pictures on the website again. Come on. Clip in. Don't want to force anything unless I have to. Oops. Ah, the windscreen's fallen out. That's not going to help. How are we going to deal with this? We've got the tray the lighting sits on is now stuck in the shell for some reason. There we go. Retrieve that. mean, the train's always going in. You don't have the steering to worry about, at least Majenko, you know. But okay, is that? Right. Okay, Chloe, since you appear to be the SME here, main engine covers, clue me in. Here? Or no, chimney, isn't it? Chimney exhaust, or which end is the front, basically? Wristwatch end or other end? Fan units round, so this is the back. Right. Excellent, thank you very much. Much obliged. And we'll try and route these wires a bit better this time. Splendid. All back together. Let's see if it still runs, otherwise I'm going to have to swear a bit. We even have the head code lit up, so that's nice. Yeah, it all went snap fit. As far as I can tell, I mean, this model is what did it say? 74, 75. So Hornby must have been snap fit from at least the early 70s. Which at least makes my job a bit easier. And then we'll have a look. And it runs the other way and lights up at the other end. So excellent, we'll call that a good job. Even if it did take 2 hours. Put that to one side. And I shall just show you the others. I won't... we won't carry on, I don't think, because people are going to want to go to bed. But let's pop the others out of the box and see what we've got. We have... Where's the camera? The Western Courier D1062. And we have the power and dummy cars of class 43, isn't it? Yep, 43011. The HST, lovely. I do also have the illuminated carriages for that, but they're not here. I thought I'd worry about getting the engine running first, but I think it is much the same procedure as with the first one. I'll tell you what, we'll pop it on the rolling road and see what happens. Because it could simply be the case that it was not making good contact when I tested it in my parents' kitchen off the original Hornby supply. Okay, so no wonder the rolling road wasn't working very well. The middle rollers on the front were not aligned. That's better. Not that it matters for this model anyway, but such is life. No signs of life on that one, unfortunately. Let's check my connections are still good. They are. And that feels like a dummy car, but we'll try it out anyway. No, nothing there. And the power car. And of course, I'm only presuming that these can pick up from the rear. No signs of life on any of those three, so that's a job for me for tomorrow, I think. Unless anybody's desperate for me to continue, but I think at 5 to 11, probably better that we call it a night. Let's just try and get that blob of solder off my mat before we go. There we go. Time for bed indeed, Majenko. Go and get yourself a nice hot mug of lemsip or something, so that you can join us all tomorrow. Hang on, what's gone wrong there? Main cam, turn off Safari. Sage and thyme tea with honey, blimey. Fancy one, is it? Okay, yeah, so tomorrow, if Majenko is feeling up to it, he is apparently going to be streaming. Or so he tells me in Discord. And I have a fresh leather punch and some sheets of felt upstairs in the camera seal kit to finish the refurbishment of my RX-50 drive. So either way, we can probably arrange a stream tomorrow. Hopefully Majenko, then I'll try and take over, or vice versa, or something. So stay tuned for that, I suppose. In the meantime, thank you all for joining me. I hope this wasn't too torturous a session. Bit of a change from my usual fodder, but it's just for try and get it all done before. My brother has had a large sheet of plywood delivered to my parents' place this morning, so that we can try and get this all set up and running over Easter. I shall try and maybe share some pictures if I can next week. But Humongous, thank you for the follow. Low battery, please recharge headset apparently. Excellent, just in time. So yeah, as I said, thanks all for joining me, and I shall catch you next time.